Welcome everyone. Today we bring another Islamic scholars, Dr. Tausif is Malik, and he has lost a lot of knowledge on Islamic history as well as Islamic entrepreneurships and most importantly Islamic finance. So today we will learn about the Islamic finance, the way of Islamic business, entrepreneurships and many more things from him. Hello Dr. Tausif Malik, how are you?
Hello, good evening, good night, assalamu alaikum. Just a small clarification, I'm not an Islamic scholar. I'm just trying to be a practicing Muslim.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes. Can I know about you and my audience? Our audience can know about you, your activities, your careers, and your business.
Okay. A small background. I come from India, but I lived across the world, Europe, America, and everything. And finally, my father lived in America, so I finally moved to America. And my background has been advertising and marketing. And I have been a serial entrepreneur since the age of 16. Even when I was working, I was not working. Actually, I was entrepreneur. Okay.
Yes, yes.
And then in 2008 and 9, I read one report about American Muslim consumer market. And during that time, actually, I went through a financial crisis. 2007-8 of America was the great recession of 2007 and 8. I had around $100,000 with me when I moved to America, but I lost everything. And then I made a dua to Allah Ta'ala that, what happened when I was 17, you made me super famous. By the age of 21, you made me millionaire. Now what happened? There must be something wrong. It was Ramadan time and I came back from Taraweeh. I cried and made a dua. And I found out that I can start something called the Muslim Spelling Bee. I didn't want to do religion. I wanted to do something very socially responsible because Islam talks about socially responsible. And I saw an opportunity that we can do a spelling bee for Muslim kids in America. And it was a project I decided. I never knew anything about spelling bee. So I started learning about it and I had only $500 left with me. No money left. And I was driving a taxi. So I went to the internet, went to a website to buy it. And then Alhamdulillah, I made a dua, I bought it. I put the whole spelling bee program, but I turned it in a very different way. Okay. uh, Whenever you do community work in Muslims, everyone wants to start an NGO. They want to collect zakat, fitra, sadqa, which is actually the right of a poor person in your neighborhood, not for organization. But they twist it and they do that. We went to Islamic angle and we thought the best way is to follow the sunnah of the Prophet. The Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to do tijara. We did tijara. We're socially responsible. So for poor kids, we didn't charge a fee. For people who could afford, we only paid $50. And then we went to Muslim schools and told them, let's collaborate. You host a program. If we make money, we will share our revenues. You also stay away from donation, because donation is not even used. Rasulullah never used for even dawah. He didn't use anything. So while doing that, I read more about Islamic finance. Before that, I was a kid. I was taught the Quran, the Fikr, the Sharia, Hadith. Not, I didn't get religious at the age of 15 or 16. My mother taught me since the time I was a kid. My uncle, Sheikh Isaac, he passed away 2 years ago. He was my guide. And my mother's father was one of the richest Muslims of my city. So I used to sit at his business and learn how he does business using Islamic way. So I learned that way. And now over the years, I have got to, I read a lot. So when I did the spelling bee, I wanted to become an academician and a researcher. So I did a PhD in America, a doctorate in America, which I studied the American Muslim consumer market. While doing that, I understood that halal economy is very huge, and I started reading about it. So this is what I do. And when I came back, unfortunately, my father passed away and my mother became sick. So we decided to come back to India. And when I came back, because I had become an expert on the Muslim consumer market, and I came back to India and I launched All India Muslim Business Startup Network. The acronym is Ambition, AIMBSN. And we put a foundation where it is on 4 pillars. First pillar, we wanted to get to the Muslim entrepreneur. Now, what happens is if you're a Muslim businessman, during the month of Ramzan, Zakat, people ask come in Zakat Fitra. If there is a problem, they'll come for Sadqa or Qarza Hasna. But when a Muslim businessman faces a problem, there is no one to help you because there's no Islamic banks, there is no organization to help this person. So we thought there is a need to help the Muslim entrepreneur. So the best way we thought is we collaborate with all these people and we do a five-star event. Okay, not a community event. Businessmen like to come to five-star hotels. So we did at five-star hotel and we did networking. And in our conference, nobody can speak more than 7 minutes because Prophet Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, if you look his public speaking, the biggest speech he did was the last khutbah. So we tell all the scholars or experts only speak for maximum 7 to 10 minutes and do more of networking. The second pillar of this is we go to Muslim community schools in India, tell them to get into incubation acceleration center and also stay away from zakat, fitra, and sadqa because that money is for individual, not for organization. Okay. Unfortunately, our community is getting used to it. We tell them, and Alhamdulillah, 41 schools. The first school which signed was Ikra School. Mr. Salim Sheikh agreed to us. He signed up. Then there's a school called Tanzim Walid and Urdu Madaris, TEWM. They signed up. Mr. Beg and Mr. Anish Shishri Saab. They understood that we can't rely on zakat, fitra, and sadqa forever. And we established incubation. How it works? Any person from the community, irrespective of their religion, background, color, creed, caste, age. They come to the school, make an application. Experts will review it. If the idea is good, we will invest in the idea. So it is we are using community locations, and anybody becomes a entrepreneur there. 3% equity goes to the school. So if the money comes, profit comes, the school gets it. So I have come to an experience, and then I decided the third pillar was we wanted to do venture capital. Now, venture capital is a dangerous thing. Firstly, you have to pick up somebody's money, then give it to somebody else. The problem is, if we pick up money, we become responsible. And when we distribute, by mistake, $1 goes to the wrong person. On Yom Al Qiyamah, on the judgment day, that $1 will go against you. So I talked to my mother because she's also a businesswoman. She told me there must be a better option. I said, yeah, there is an option in opposite or equal to venture capital. It's called angel network. So she says, why don't you look at the angel network format? And I started putting mechanics to angel network and we launched Halal Angel Network after doing a lot of research. So I'm an expert on, maybe not even 100% expert, but I'm an expert onto halal consumer market. Nobody can be an expert ever because education is a learning process.
Yes, very interesting. We want to know from you about the concept of Islam that you want to share. You unveil some of the beautiful scholars' theory and aspect. Can you share with our audience what you want to share and what is the beautiful things about the Islamic scholars?
See, the best Islamic scholars is to follow your, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But, as the topic of today is Al Fikr and Al Farq, I met with one Islamic scholar. He's a direct descendant of Prophet Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And during one of his lectures, he gave a concept of Al Fikr. He says Islam talks about reasoning, theory of reasoning. Okay? And 1,000 years ago, Muslims used that knowledge of theory of reasoning. Now you did a PhD. What you did, you took a vast amount of data, filtered it, it became knowledge, information, right? When you further filter the information, it became knowledge. So same thing, this is an Islamic scholar put forth this theory 1,000 years ago. What they did is they wanted to decorate the masjid. Okay, they used organic colors to paint it, but they were not happy. They went back and started researching on chemicals. So alchemia started, right? Organic, inorganic. The other thing is Islamic scholars picked up information from different civilizations. Okay, but they never claim it's their knowledge. Okay, so they took knowledge from Mesopotamia, that's Iraq. They took it from Iraq, means Egypt, Rome, Greek, India, China, and they synthesize this knowledge. So when you were writing a PhD paper, you cited people, right? This knowledge I took from there, but finally you analyze that knowledge, right? And then you put your own knowledge. So Muslims Muslims, that is the writing of scientific journals actually started from Muslims, because stealing anything, whether it's idea or knowledge, stealing is stealing, right? So they cited people and they created new knowledge. But the good thing what they did is, if you look at a mobile and when you dial your numbers, those numbers are actually Arabic numbers,
Mhm,
because Roman numbers or Greek numbers couldn't do mathematical calculation. If you
mhm,
look at Pythagoras theorem, besides the theory, it couldn't solve any problem, right? Because with Pythagoras theorem, if you put Arabic numbers, you can analyze it, right? So they took Arabic numbers, but because I'm an Indian and I'm proud about it, they took zero from India, from Aryabhat, okay, and they put it with Arabic numbers. Then they also started something called decimal. Okay, so with numbers, decimal, and zero, you could do mathematical calculation. And the great thing what they did is they wanted to pray exactly on time. Okay, even in not 1 second, 2 seconds. So they created something called a watch, even clock. That clock is still available in Syria. So once you had time, once you had numbers, once you had decimal, once you had zero, you could do controlled experiment. Okay, they use al Fikr. The
mhm,
other topic was the thing was al Farak. Now there's a theory: half glass full, half glass empty, right? But nobody is wrong, because half glass empty is also good, half glass full is also good. But there's also another theory: I'm thirsty, I'm going to drink the water. Nobody is wrong, right? So this is called theory of al Farq. Al Farq means agree to disagree, because everyone is right in that thing. So when you put in al Fikr and al Farq, right, what happens? It creates a new knowledge, right? So this is what they did. Same thing I implement in my work. I use these concepts to start something. So when I saw, I use information from big news channels like Reuters. They did research on Islamic consumer market. JWT, Ogilvy Worldwide, they study the Muslim market. I use this knowledge. I found Muslim spelling bee. I found an opportunity, as I said, drinking water, and we created something called Muslim spelling bee, right? When I came back to India, I used knowledge about the knowledge about Muslim consumer and what is the need of the art to put it to the to the government. So we used the knowledge and created thought about it and created new knowledge, right? And following that path, we created a new knowledge where angel networks already works in the worldwide system for entrepreneurs. We use that thing, put the Islamic criteria, and launch the Halal Angel Network. So we just process the knowledge, right? So innovation is there, but we used some kind of theory to build onto it.
Yes, very interesting. I just want to know what's the procedure of present world, because at present we seeing lot of things. Let's say in COVID-19 situations, we facing lot of challenges. Even economy face lot of challenges right now everywhere. Even in it's in Asia Pacific. You are discussing about Malaysia. You can discuss about India. Everywhere there are challenges. How your Islamic point of views we can implement in present world and how it works.
Firstly, if you read the Quran, the Fiqh, the Sharia Hadith, when you were in your sperm drop of your father, your food was written, your death is written. Okay? The minute you understand this thing, you will not get stressed out. Okay? You will think, yes, my food is written. Now, Almighty gives you two options: either to earn your living through the right way or the wrong way. Because whatever is written is there. So a human being is given a freedom to choose the path. Okay? Now, sometimes a pandemic happens, and pandemic is not a new thing. Plagues happened even in the ancient European thing. Plague happened during the time of Prophet, right? So when there's a pandemic, people have to go back and use al and see where is the opportunity. Like in India, the what happened is when pandemic happened, we didn't have PPE clothing, but right now we are exporting millions of dollars of PPE clothing from 2 days now, because people saw an opportunity. They didn't cry that pandemic happened, right? Earlier people would do conference at a location. But recently, I was at a big conference online on 26 last Friday. Did Gopi did a conference online. So whenever there's a problem, there is always a solution. If we start crying that this will not happen, that will not happen, blame the government, blame anyone, it doesn't work. You have to always look at a problem. In fact, we launched Halal Angel Network during the middle of the pandemic. And guess what? We are talking with you right now, right? If I didn't launch, I would be not talking to you, right?
Yes. Okay. This is very important right now. Like example, we have a gap in between, like North American concept or European concept and Islamic concept, and always like that is a one of the important thing. Always we have to fight for the Islamophobia and this kind of challenge. So how in that situations we can make it, like minimize the gap, as well as we can make a good friendship with the Western world and create this like Islamic finance or halal network or halal food or halal things. How we can change the situation?
Firstly, every time people will face crisis, whether it's Islamophobia, terrorism, anything. But you should always be positive. That's what our Prophet talked about. When people were trying to throw garbage on him, he went and talked to them. Right? And like I never faced any kind of Islamophobia ever because I like to reach outreach to people. I might not tell about other people. Even if somebody has bad feelings about it, it doesn't matter to me. What I can do is I can spread love, right? And I'm also a teacher. I teach. So when I'm teaching, I don't discriminate students that they are from different faith. A teacher is a teacher, right?
Mhm.
I'm trying to spread love to my students because a teacher is like a father, right? So I have a lot of students. In fact, 2 days ago, one of my old students, she got recognized by Government of India. And when I messaged, when she put it in LinkedIn, I messaged, awesome. She says, "Sir, you are the only person who made me think." This is like 2004. I was not even old like that. I was 28, 29. My student was like 21. So when you start spreading love, people like you. Like I will give you again example. My mother's father was one of the richest Muslim businessmen. So when people needed homes, he had a lot of property. He gave them just like that, so people can stay. He didn't look at the religion. My father's father was one of the famous principals, academicians of India. So when India Pakistan partition happened, two sick children, the Sardarjis, were orphaned, and my grandfather found them and he raised them at our house. And they always visit. He never told them to change religion, right? They are still like they passed away. They have been. They were very old. They must have been 80, 90 now. So when we were kids, 1970s or 80s, they would come and visit us on Eid. So we never discriminated people. In fact, my mother's father, uh, people he does wedding things for all religion, that business. So it was a tradition that all the people which were Jain, Gujarati living in that area, the first stop to start the marriage procession would be coming and meeting my grandfather. And then my grandfather gives them 101 rupees to start the festivals. So he's giving 101 rupees. You understand? Right? Now,
Yes.
this
Yes.
what has happened is rather than blaming other people, too many, I mean, this might be very controversial, but we don't need scholars who are comparing religion of other people, right? Did I have never read across religion of Rasul when Rasulullah talked about, he never compared other people's religion, right? So if you
Yes.
don't compare religion and quote the Quran, the Hadith, it doesn't make sense. It's not a competition to quote the Hadith and Quran like you're a computer. More than talking, you should be practicing, right? So the more I meet a lot of people from the community, they say we don't need scholars like that now who's just talking too much. Rasulullah never talked anything, right? So Islamophobia, this is a huge issue. I'm not into this. What I do is I do small things. And I told you earlier the story of Prophet Ibrahim. There was a huge fire, and a small bird came and put drops of water. That drops of water was not supposed to do any impact. but the action was bigger than drops of water, right? What we can do is we can spread love, affection with people. We don't need to tell them, this is good, this is bad. They're good to do that, right? What we can do, our action should be good for other people. I don't want to comment on other people's action. I would rather comment on, you know you ask me something, if I can do it, I will do it. This is what is real Islam. Help people, and this is actually humanity. And I'll conclude this session is, when you look at the Quran, in the Quran, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, Kul yal kafirun la tabidun lakum dinukum waliyadi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you believer, you follow your path. Let others follow their path. On Yawm al Qiyamah, they are accountable for the action, you are accountable. So I'll rather focus on my action, right? And Quran also talks about diversity. The chapter of Nuh alayhi salam, when people came down from that ship, their color, caste, creed, everything changed, right? Because diversity, Allah Ta'ala likes diversity. That's why we have white people, black people, yellow people, Indian people, brown people, right? Mixed people. Allah Ta'ala likes diversity. So if Allah Ta'ala likes diversity, accept it, right? So I can't comment about other people. I will only comment that I want to be that hudud bird which puts one drop into good. My niyat is bigger than that drop of water. I want to do that.
Okay, very interesting. I want to go to the next level. Let's say, yes, you are doing a very good job. You are trying to making a combinations of modern science and the Islamic philosophy, and you are living in the 21st century. But can you give me an explanation why this Muslim community has a lot of issues? Like example, if we see this Muslim community, we cannot work like properly. Why we have lot of diversifications and a lot of dividations and many more things. How we can positively we can overcome from this situation. Like I know you are a very small hudud bird, but how what the hudud bird think that if he find or the little bird find that there are too much of chaos, too much of problem and challenge, and we are not acting as a proper Muslim, and this is the challenges as well. So how this hudud
Okay.
bird think?
Okay. The hudud bird doesn't think, whatever I've read, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong. Before the judgment day, you will have hypocrite scholars.
Mhm,
Okay. Hypocrite scholars affect a lot of people.
mhm,
Okay. Uh, I don't want to name people, but whatever I've heard, listen to the lectures and the way they talk, it is the sign of Yom Al Qiyamah for me.
mhm,
So if Yom Al Qiyamah is coming, right, when you see these hypocrite scholars, it's better to get into your own shell and start fixing your life, right? If you look at if you meet any, if you actually go to real Islamic scholars and you talk to them, they don't talk much. What they say, are you praying 5 times on time? Okay. Are you doing your fasting correctly? If you're sick, are you paying those people? Because, in relationship, if you're not fasting, you should pay. Are you going to the miskin, finding the miskin? Are you giving them zakat? Okay. Then are you going, if you have the money, are you going for Hajj Umrah? Are you taking your parents? And the other thing they say is, are you looking after your parents?
mhm,
Right? As I told earlier, under the feet of the mother is the Jannat, and the father is the door to the Jannat, to the heaven, right? Rather than wasting time that I'm going to go on, start talking to people, I'm going to, are we actually taking care of our parents, right? And I'm the only child of my parents. There's a hadith which says is, one person goes and tells Rasulullah that I want to join the army, right? And I want to do jihad. He says, how many people at home? He says, Ana wahid. Go take care of your parents, right? So you have to take care of your parents, irrespective. First is to take care of your parents. Then, if you have your family, your wife, your kids, you have to take care of them. And the biggest person who takes care is to feed halal income into every person of your household. Whether it's your parents, whether it's your kids, whether it's your wife, you have to give them halal income. Even to your servant who's working in your house, don't give them haram income, because halal, without halal income in your stomach, all the five pillars of Islam becomes not good, because your body has haram income. So for me and the people I work with now, they are focusing on to earning halal income and taking care of their families. So what happens on a micro level, if we start focusing on family, then at macro level things change, right? So this is what we're trying to do, halal income.
Okay.
And this hudud bird is only trying to take care of the household first.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay, I want to move with the first word, as you have an experience to engage with the first words, and you are trying to share your knowledge and your business with the first word with North American community. What's your experience? How you find what the real scenario of this North American community? How they respect about Islam, or what they think about Islam?
By the way, American Constitution was written by founding father Thomas Jefferson, and he used the Quran to actually write the Constitution. Okay, in America, everyone gets an equal chance if you really want to do it. Yes, there are roadblocks. Again, I will talk from my perspective. I went through challenging times, but America gave me a platform. Okay, not, see, Allah Ta'ala gives you opportunities wherever they want to, but America, Allah Ta'ala gave that platform for me in America. Now, America follows more Islamic things than even Muslim countries. Now, first thing, in America, salaries are paid on a weekend, every weekend or daily. So there is a hadith: before the sweat of the employee dries up, give him the money. So in America, we have this concept of paychecks every weekend. So they are following similar concept. Now, when you get paychecks on time, what you do is you're not stressed out, you will spend more. That's why when you spend more, that's why America is not powerful because of military. America is more powerful because of consumer power. If tomorrow America says we are going to ban you, that product, that company will fall down, because Americans, as an American, we spend a lot of money buying stuff because we get weekly paychecks. We don't have this monthly blues. Secondly, in America, there's something called ESOP, employee stock options. There's a hadith which says if somebody cooks food for you, he has a right on the food before you eat the food, even though you're paying him salary. So same thing, if somebody is working for you, America gives you stock options. Now, anytime you have a problem in the courts, you can actually fight it out. I had two problems for my driving traffic tickets. I went to the court and I fought it, and there was no discrimination because it was nearly equal. Then America follows the concept of al fikr and al farak. You see, the best of universities are in America, and best of innovation comes from America, because the first ayat of the Quran is Bismillah Rahman Rahim, Ikra Bismi Rabbi Khalaq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, read in the name of the Lord. Reading means it's an order, it's not anything. Read in the name of the Lord. So God is telling you like an order. So America University is the center of all learning. Everyone comes to America, right? And then
Hello, Dr. Tausif.
these are the small things, and the biggest thing which comes from America is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam talks about tijara. Okay, America is the only country on the planet which encourages entrepreneurship. Okay, it's very easy to set up business. You don't need a local partner, you don't need anything. Foreigner, non foreigner, legal, illegal, anyone can start business, legal business, and pay taxes. This doesn't happen in any part of the world. If you're illegal, you can't start a business, right? If you're not local, you can't start a business, right? So if you're, and then Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to do hijrat. So a lot of people come to America for hijrah. So when you do hijrat, you get some local knowledge from your home country and put it into the local knowledge and create a new knowledge, right? That's why America is very active. and very open for people to come and set up something. This is my experience. I can't talk about others, but I personally felt that.
Okay, this is very good things. So in present scenario, what's the strategy in COVID-19 situations? Financial strategy we should take, because now many people lose their job in India, even in many countries, even in Asia Pacific, many people losing their job. What's the solution according to Islam? You think, or you're observing right now?
See, the apartment complex I stay in India, in India you have taxis which are called rickshaw.
Mhm,
So a lot of rickshaw drivers have started selling vegetables.
mhm,
Okay. When I moved to America, I needed to set up a business. I could take up a job, but then with job, I can't do business because it's not allowed. 8 hours somebody's paying me to work them. I can't do my business on the side. So I started driving a taxi, right? And the Quran says, with every hardship, we send you ease, right? So we also go through crisis, but when you look at the ayat of the Quran, with every hardship, so I'm very positive after this COVID movement, the economy will rebound very fast. Okay, it will create new opportunities, like the way we are talking on Zoom or any of the video application. Earlier, people did not use it, but we are using it now. So it's saving time for meetings, right? I had a meeting with a gentleman in the morning, Zafarul from in Malaysia. He runs Adnanlu's Capital. So we were talking. So we could do it on Google Meet. We could do on WhatsApp, right? So we are using technology rather than earlier times. I would take a plane to come to Malaysia to meet him, or he has to come to India or to America. We are saving time, and when we are saving time, we are also saving the environment because the carbon footprint is not happening, right? So we have to evolve with every hardship. If you really embrace that ayat of the Quran, I will give ease. So I believe in the Quran. I don't like to preach, I like to practice.
mhm. Okay, this
And
is
what we have started is, sorry, what you
please
saying, brother?
no, please continue.
What are you saying?
I say please
Yeah,
continue.
as I saying, what as I said this, yeah, as a small hudud bird, what I'm trying to do is we have created this halal angel network, and we have a two strategy for this. Because I am Indian origin person, now I moved back to my birthplace. uh, 1/5 of India's population is Muslims, right? And our Prime Minister and the government of India since last year has put a target of $5 trillion economy,
Mhm,
right? And Islam says you have to support the government because it's elected government. Whatever said in that, we have to support it. So we are saying 1/5 of Indian Muslim population should, if we divide 5 trillion by 1/5, it becomes $1 trillion. Contribution should come from the Indian Muslims towards the $5 trillion target. So
mhm,
we're working on that. The next thing is for global markets. We are looking at Silicon Valley, where a lot of people have got upset with the crony capitalism. You know what is crony capitalism is like? It's capitalism, but it is only for rich people, not
mhm,
for not for poor people. So ethical finance or halal finance talk about empowering everyone. So we're trying to look at that. And when I launched this Halal Angel Network, a gentleman called Mr. Gopi, he invited me to the conference, and he says, Dr. Malik, the Silicon Valley is now looking at ethical finance and halal finance. Why don't we collaborate? And he says, let's collaborate. So we're doing a conference in America, hopefully in January or this thing. So we are trying to do on our own, but individual level, people should always retool, learn new skills, and emerge from every crisis. You can't stay back and cry. Like there's a say in Urdu, Mayusi Kufre. The Quran says, if you're distressed, disturbed, it is actually like kufr. You're not believing in the good things of Almighty. Sometimes Almighty puts like, recently my professor passed away.
mhm,
He was very young. At the age of 21, he met to an accident. He became paraplegic. He couldn't move. But he didn't use his thing to cry. He became a financial genius. He had a staff of 4 people keeping him up.
mhm,
International universities were calling him to talk. International financial advisors would take advice. and he could make millions of dollars because he didn't look at his disability, right? Other people would have cried, like, I have become disabled, this, that. Unfortunately, he passed away because he got a heart attack, in last day of Ramadan. His name is Professor Sadi Hassan, and he taught me to be like, daredevil. You have to look at that.
Okay, I just want to know, like example, can you analyze, as you have a many experience from different countries, you involve with different Islamic scholars and many peoples. Can you explain the what's the present scenario? What's the contribution of Islamic scholars? Maybe still it's hidden. We want to know more about these things. Even example in present conditions in COVID-19 situations, how many Islamic doctors or Islamic researchers actually contributing? If you have any information and data you want to share with us, you can.
See, a lot of people, what I experienced here and I saw my friends in America doing is Muslim and UK, because I lived in the UK also. There are a lot of people trying to feed the homeless and hungry. One of my friends, she's a celebrity chef called Hawa, and she lost her job and she started cooking meals for homeless people. She didn't charge anything. So there are a lot of people doing that. Now, when you see the vaccination, I don't see any vaccination coming out of the Muslim country as of now,
Mhm, mhm. Okay,
right?
okay.
Why so?
Yes,
I
why
have to
so?
ask that question. Why so?
Okay, this is our question as well. Like example, what's the as we have a very good history and we have many scholars. So what's the Muslim world contribution in present situation? Definitely, maybe there are many things. Still, I'm open and my community is open. We want to learn. Anyway, okay. Next step, like how do you think about women right? And how actually Islamic people, because in global community many times I have to give this answer, but what's your idea according to Islam, how Islam think about women right, and what should we practice?
Okay. Okay. Firstly, Islam is the only religion which told women to participate in the government. The
Okay, interesting.
European countries allowed women to vote somewhere in early 1990s,
Hmm.
19th century. Okay,
Hmm.
so we were 1400 years ago. We were that. There were a lot of women in Islam during the time of Prophet. They were nurses. They were also warriors on the battleground.
Hmm.
I forgot the Ashabi lady's name. Prophet Rasulullah Sallam says in the hadith, wherever in the war I moved my head, I saw her fighting.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Now this is very interesting. That's one. Now the role of Muslim women. Somebody asked Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who you have to love. He says your mother. Again he
Hmm.
asked mother. Again he asked mother. And the fourth time he says the father. That means that women are very important. Then Rasulullah's wife, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's first wife, Bibi Khatija Razina Ta'ala, the mother of all mothers for us. She was the first venture capitalist, investor, and supporter of Rasulullah, right? So women had rights. Women still have rights. Okay. The other thing is, if you look at, there is a Sufi from Basra, what you say, Rabia Basra. Rabia Basra was one of the legends of scholar. One day she was running with the torch in her hand and water bucket in her hand. People, and she's saying, "I will burn the Jannat and I will put water on the fire of Jahannam." People said, "Why you are saying that?" She says, "Listen, guys, if you're looking for Jannat as an end, you're doing it wrong. You should pray because you love your Prophet, and you love your Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. And if you're praying because of the fear of fire of Jahannam, let's extinguish it, right?" So women were very important. And look at Bibi Maryam alayhi salam, the mother of Rasulullah, mother of Isa alayhi salam. She was so pious, right? The angels could come and meet her, right? So women are very important, right? Now there's an analogy which one of the Islamic scholars said. I'm sharing his analogy. This is not mine. Okay. So he said, somebody said, you put your women behind veil. Okay. What you're doing. He says, listen, I'll ask you a few questions. And the first question of yours is, which is the most important, expensive book of the world? That guy said Britannica Encyclopedia before Wikipedia came. That used to cost 6,000 pounds or something. He says, for us is the Quran. We cover the Quran. Okay. Then he says, what is the most precious thing on the planet? Which is very in a small size. He says diamonds. So what do? We put the diamonds in a bag, we cover it up. Okay. The third thing is, which is the religious center which is covered on the planet? It's the Holy Kaaba. And finally, can we see God? Because God is behind the part. This is what the Islamic scholars say. Now, my ex-wife, okay, she was a scientist with NASA, and she used to study the immune systems of astronauts. Okay, and when she was invited for Apollo 14th launch, because she is the only Muslim women whose specimens ever went in space. You can't come close to that, right? This was before my marriage. And because she wore a hijab, she couldn't get security clearance for the launch. Okay. She says, sorry, I will watch the launch from the office. Right. So she still maintained her hijab, and she was a scientist. And she was not just a scientist, she was studying the immune system of astronauts. How many people get a chance to do that? Even though she's my ex-wife, I'm still proud about her. But what she's achieved Islamically and academically, very renowned, very responsible, right? Even now, it's been like a couple of years we have been divorced, but I still always remember her because she followed the religion, right? She had her hair covered. Not just because for launch she abandoned that. So this is my experience. And my mother. My father moved to America. My mother was 34 years old. And she stopped, she started aging because my father was there. Then she stopped eating her, she said, listen, she started eating less. I said, why? She says, I want to be a very pious wife for my husband. On Yom Al Qiyamah, if my husband asks me, what did I do with the money? Okay. I will say, I not misuse your money. I got very upset with my mother. I said, you're gone technically crazy. What you're talking? Because of that, I started working at the age of 16. I told my mom, this is my money, you do whatever you want to do. And guess what, Dr. Sharif? Wherever I touched, I made millions of rupees. Because when you do it for your mother, Allah Ta'ala gets connected. The importance of mother is her heart is connected with, Almighty. So nothing can come close to that. What happens politically, religiously, it's up to people, right? But very important is the role of mother, role of wife, role of children, daughters. And in Islam, if you have 3 daughters, that means you're guaranteed Jannat, right? In other religion, there is female feticide, right? But Islam encourages you to have daughters. What is the beauty of Islam, right? I have a cousin. He has 5 daughters, and he never cared for a son. He always, whenever Allah Ta'ala blessed, he and his wife got happy about it. Because women are very, without her, you can't be come to this world, and without her, most of the time, my success is not I'm some super smart guy. My mother's not well. I try to massage her legs every day. I'm not trying to boast that in public, but sometimes you have to say these things. When your mother makes a dua, no one on the planet can stop you. No pandemic, no anything. That means women are very important in Islam.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Already there is an audience response. Araf Mehraj, he said, I think you are working with positively for the Muslim world. Thank for great deed. So, and Mohammad Sohel Rana, he said, great thinking. So, yes, I appreciate you. I just want to share my personal experience, how you said your mother and other experience. Like my father, actually, he died in front of me. So that time I was in Kuala Lumpur. I'm based in Bangladesh. So I go early in the mornings, and I think around 1:15 he died. So that was very tough time for me. But like when my father died in front of me, it's really difficult. It's really tough to manage myself. But I faced a lot more tough times because that time my grandmother was alive. So when I go to my grandmother's with my father's dead body, and I have to say, as I'm elder son of my father, that your son died. So that was really, really, really pathetic, and I can understand the mother and son relationship. So what you're discussing, I also have my mother. So this is very important that everybody should take care of their parents, and how you explain that women can touch what we say, Allah and God, and it's easily. And this is very important. I think every Muslim should take care their parents. Not only Muslim, everybody should take care their parents
Every
because yes, everybody should take care of their parents. So you are trying to explaining the beautiful of family life, the beauty of family life, and the Islamic cultures and other things. But in present world, we find that, especially I'm also young, I just want to learn from you. Let's say many young people, they are not choosing the right way, and they are distracting with many things, many social challenges, issues right now, even drugs, even example family issues, many challenges right now we have. So how we can practice religion, and if we practice religion, is it possible that we reducing this social unrest or family unrest, or what the problem we find uh, right now? How to solve these things?
See, in 14th, 16th century, the Pope wrote a paper, the seven sins. Okay, there are seven sins: gluttony, jealousy, whatever, adultery. There were seven sins written by the Pope. And when I actually analyzed, I actually wrote an article using positivity. There are seven with seven negative. There's seven positive. I will share it with you. You can use positivity. When you look at all religious books, they always say every generation had a problem. Okay, so the problems will be there. Some people go through challenging times and emerge better. Some people have a good life and suddenly they change, right? My personal view is, okay, and based on my experience with my cousins and my first family, I saw my father passed away. My father used to work manage a petrol pump gas station in Chicago. He didn't want to stay at home, so he used to work. I used to drop him, pick him up. He says, I don't want to get bored at home. And when he got a heart attack, he didn't want to leave the first attack. He didn't want to leave because there were $25,000 at the counter. He got back from his heart attack, did his job, and came back home. And he says, I'm not feeling well. He didn't tell me he fainted. But his other colleagues who were also managing the gas station, they called and says he's not, he fainted. Maybe they thought it's heat weather or whatever. It was May. It was like 22nd May. He got a heart attack, 22nd or 24th May of 2014. And then later he got a major heart attack and then he was hospitalized. I talked to my dad. I said, I came to know. He says, I was trying to protect the amanat of my job. So even while dying, whatever money he left for me, even $1 was halal for me, right? He could have cheated. He didn't cheat. My mother's father, if a customer was not happy, he would return back that money. Now, there is a Islamic figure I'm not forgetting. I'll just let me ask my mother. अम्मी वो सेब का किस्सा कौन से हजरत का है? मम्मी, अम्मी,
No problem, you can ask.
there's this. Mhm. Okay. ठीक है. Sadiq है सलाम. Okay. There are 12 imams. One of the imams is Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam. While he was traveling from the downstream, from river Tigris goes from upstream to downstream, then it goes into the ocean. So he's walking from upstream to downstream, and he was hungry. He was a young guy, and he saw an apple floating in the river Tigris. He picked up that apple and he ate it. Then he realized this area doesn't have apples. So he went back upstream because downstream is like a desert. He went upstream. When upstream, he found an garden of orchards of apples, and one tree was coming into the river. So he identified the apple he ate has a similar apple on the tree. He went to the farm owner and he says, "Sorry, I ate the apple without your permission." He says, "Okay." He says, "I want to compensate you. I don't have money. Give me some labor. I will work." He says, "Okay, work." He says, "I want to do it right away because before that apple gets digested and becomes like into my bloodstream, I don't want haram income in my bloodstream." Okay. And then he says, okay. He worked for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, couple of months. Then he asked this old man, the owner of the orchard, he says, "Listen, is my labor charge over?" He says, "No, you still have to work." This young man never complained. He went on for a couple of months. Then finally he says, "It's been months. I need to get back home because I have a family. Is my cost of labor over?" He's not disputing one apple equal to 1 year of work. Then he says, "No, you have to marry my daughter." He says, "Okay, but my condition is my daughter is blind with one eye. She can't hear. She doesn't have hands and she doesn't have legs." He says, "Okay." He gets married and he goes to the room and he sees one beautiful girl. He says, "That's not the girl I got married." That man said, blind, young, whatever. He goes to the old man. He says, "Where is your daughter?" He says, "Your daughter is in that room." He says, "But that's beautiful daughter." He says, "My daughter has not seen any gair mahram, non mahram. She's not touched anything haram. She's not seen anything haram. She's not heard haram. And she has always kept her limits under the guidance of Islam, whether it's work, whether everything. So her legs have not done wrong things by going to wrong things." And guess what? The child was Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, the greatest Islamic scholar of all time. So when your father works for halal income, your mother stays away from haram, you'll get scholars, right? And I have experienced my personal miracle. My mother got married when she was 17 and she recites even Quran even at night, even with her medical condition. She's not old, she's 64. When I look at the Quran, I see Quran in a different space, not what I've learned. Because there is a DNA knowledge which comes from my mother, what she read the Quran into my bloodline, right? So
Yes.
sometimes when I see the Quran, because it's DNA, whatever your parents, and most of your DNA comes from your mother, it's scientifically proven, right? So when you have a good father who died protecting people's money, and you have a mother, she's trying to, try to do something. You're even if you want to do wrong intention, we are human beings. We are not some saints, right? Or prophets. But you will say, "Oh, if I do a mistake, what will my mother think?" Forget the world. When she comes to know, her heart will break. What will my father think? So the best thing is to put halal income in your child's body. And that's why my work involves halal income, not just by talk. Not that, "Oh, we are very religious." Okay, I pray 5 times. When you read the Quran, even the shaitan prayed 5 times, right? More than 5 times. So praying is mandatory. Even the shaitan prayed across the whole cosmos, right? So that's not a criteria to be good Muslim, praying, right? Praying is mandatory. So when you look at the Quran, you say, "Wow, shaitan prayed entire cosmos." So that's not a criteria. So the criteria is how you put your money in your pocket, how you treat your kids, how you treat your community, how you take blessings of people, right? That is what Islam is. I'll tell you a situation. I was getting my mother from a hospital. We were planning to come back, and my mom wanted to pray, and she had a government car to pick up because she's on wheelchair. She says, son, I want to do nature's call, but I don't want to I want to do it Islamic way. I want to pray. So I told the driver, listen, buddy, can you stop the car? He says, no, there's a camera in the car because this is disabled people. I told him, like, she wants to pray, he says, okay, I'll take a risk. He stopped the car and the van. I helped my mom. Then she prayed. Then the driver came. Then he says, you Asian people take care of your parents a lot. I said, yeah, but more than that, in Islam, you have to take care of your parents. One thing led to another, and he accepted Islam in 10 minutes. It was not a lecture on the stage, 23 number ayat, hadith number this. It was not like that. So if you spread goodness, you have this thing, people embrace. And sometimes you don't need to tell. Like, I have a lot of people from different faiths. They are more ethical in their work. They're honest with their work. So it's not about religion, it's not about this. Finally, on the Yom Al Qiyamah, Allah will look at how you treated people, right? If you're treated people, your family, your neighbors, your community. Community doesn't mean Muslim community, your country, right? There's a concept of Hubbal Watani, love your country. So we have to love our country also, right? So this is what it is.
Yes, Dr. Tausif, can you hear me? Yes. We are almost done. The last part, I just want to get some advice for our present youth community, how we can economically more solvent and based on Islamic thought and Islamic process. Yes, already we understand about the halal income and these things, but how we can, because there are many things, like example, like people are, everybody saying that Muslims people are more concerned about halal food, but they are not concerned about halal income. This kind of things also happening, and many people believe this. So what's the best way for halal income? We are not only think about halal food, also halal income. What's your advice?
Firstly, when you start a business, keep a niyat that you're going to pay everyone on time. Okay, most of the Muslim organizations, I don't want to say a general statement, but most of the Muslim organizations, NGOs, especially NGOs and religious organizations, my experience, personal experience, is they don't pay on time and they pay very bad. Okay, you can't underpay people. So when you start any business or any religious work or anything, think about other people's problem first. Okay, every whatever money comes, keep an accountability of it. The next thing is try to pay your taxes on time. Okay, never cheat on taxes, because Islam says if the rule of the land is doesn't cross Islam, follow that. So taxation is a good thing because the government takes money and gives it back to the community, right? Like, so you should never if you have a supplier, if you have made a commitment to pay on time, please pay on time. Never cheat people. If you have staff, give them salary on time, because if you start taking care of people, then their duas make you bigger person. And never dishonor your word. Whatever you said, honor it, even if you have to have a loss. I'll tell you a situation. During COVID, one of our clients went through going through challenging times because his restaurants was, the labor is not there. Because labor is not there, he can't run his operation. Because he can't run the operation, he can't give, too many people. Now, my student Bhaskar, okay, and he suggested, okay, he said, sir, why don't we tell our client, don't pay us for this month, because his outlet is closed, even though he's paying us. I said, good. And he's not a Muslim. He's a practicing Hindu kid. I said, very good, Bhaskar. You should do that. He called up the client. He says, don't pay us for this month. When I met the client, he's a friend of mine. He says, your team member in your student called, and he said, I said, yeah, we have to take care of people, right? And I'll conclude my talk. There was one of the tabain in Baghdad. Anytime people got him damaged coins, also he would give them groceries. He had a big grocery store or utility store with like a supermarket. And when he took the damaged coins, he would honor them, give them food, and he would store the damaged coins in his go down. He was going for Hajj, and he told his manager, "You manage my store, and I'll come back after 3 months," because it was he would go to Makkah, Medina, then he would go to Baitul Muqaddas. That time people used to go to Baitul Muqaddas also, and it might take 6 months. When he came back, and he knew his manager was very honest man. When he came, he saw his manager excited. He hugged him, and then the manager said, "Sir, I've done something fantastic." He said, "What?" Come behind. I said, okay. He went behind, and he opened all the boxes which had damaged coins. He says, when people came, I exchanged them broken coins, damaged coins. So now we are rich. He says, okay, come out. He closed the store, and he never opened the store again. So the manager said, why you did that? He says, firstly, I was trying to earn for my next life by helping people. Sometimes people don't like charity. They had broken coins, broken currency. I would honor them. Secondly, is I built my relationship with customers, and they became I became super rich. Fast forward in 2012, I had bought a belt in America. It was a designer belt. I went with my dad. I bought it, and the belt got damaged. What they claim in America, you can go and exchange it, and they'll give you a refund. So we went back to the store, and we said, this is damage. I need a new belt. You said it's like good. The guy said, okay, let me check. Do you have a receipt? I said, no, I paid cash. I forgot. Do you pay credit card? After 2 hours, the manager comes. The manager says it's not showing in the system, but I will honor it for you, and I will give you something. My dad looks at him and says, actually, I'm sorry. I got very upset. Dad, why you are sorry? He says, son, we didn't buy it from, this store, Sears. We bought this thing from JC Penney. Even though we didn't buy the belt from Sears, but the guy from Sears was honoring it, right? I still remember it. And my father apologized. We went to JC Penney and they replaced the bed. Now, who's following Islam? You understand? The Western world follows Islam. In America, I bought something for my ex-wife from a Muslim store, and it was damaged. I bought it at 8 o'clock, and the lady was, trying to sell. I bought it. I just bought it. I got that dress home. I showed it to my mom, and my mom said, "There's a damage in that." I went back to the store. It was near my home, and it was closed. In the morning, first thing I went, and the owner refused to even acknowledge that. He never gave me a refund. Now, who's following Islam? The white guy from Western world or the Muslim guy from a Muslim store? Wa akhir dana fi hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalatu wassalamu alayka. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, and thank you for your brilliant thoughts. So hopefully in the future we will discuss with you more about Islamic thought, Islamic philosophy, as well as the way of business and how we can make a more meaningful business with our halal procedures. So thank you for your brilliant thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.